In today's top stories from Addis Ababa, the head of the Algerian diplomacy reaffirms Algeria's support for strengthening the African Union and its regional and international influence. Several countries denounced the most serious Zionist repression in the West Bank since 1967, why the Arab League calls for an emergency meeting. The United Nations warns of the serious situation in South Sudan, marked by escalating violence and growing humanitarian restrictions. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. I'm Jamal Salmani. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, has chaired a meeting of the Council of Ministers which addressed the follow-up of measures to supply the national market with widely consumed goods during the holy month of Ramadan and the progress of the complementary programs for the provinces of Khanshla, Tisimsilt, Jilfa and Tindouf. More details with Masoud Shalfi.
After the presentation of the agenda of the Council of Ministers and then the government's activity by the Prime Minister over the past 2 weeks, the President of the Republic issued the following instructions, orders and directives. Regarding the water sector, the President instructed the launch of 2 seawater desalination plants in Tamanrast and Tindouf within the next month, describing them as strategic projects for the Deep South, and ordered the construction of a wastewater treatment plant in Tindouf to support agricultural projects. He also called for strict precautionary and monitoring measures during dam water releases and stressed the need to strictly respect National Drinking Water Distribution Plan year-round, deeming the recent water cut in Schlef unacceptable and warning against any negligence leading to similar incidents. Regarding preparations for the holy month of Ramadan, the President called for ensuring all necessary conditions for citizens to observe the month in comfort and tranquility, emphasizing its sanctity and the values of solidarity it embodies. He urged greater governmental responsiveness to address concerns effectively and welcomed the abundance of various products, including agricultural and livestock goods, stressing that this should lead to stable and affordable prices during the month. Regarding the complementary programs for Khanshla, Tisimsilt, Jilfa and Tindouf, the President praised the timely implementation of their projects and instructed the government to prepare new complementary programs for less developed provinces, particularly the newly established ones.
The entrusted by the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, the Minister of State in charge of Foreign Affairs, National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Mr. Ahmed Attaf, has participated in Addis Ababa in the 48th session of the Executive Council of the African Union. This meeting, held in preparation for the AU summit scheduled for Saturday and Sunday, allows for the examination of issues and files related to the role and position of African action in addressing the main political, security and development challenges facing the continent. In his speech, Mr. Attaf stressed the African summit's importance and called for a forward-looking vision to address threats, adapt to change and strengthen African unity.
The African summit we are preparing for today is of great importance given the overall international context in which it is held, a context that we all recognize threatens to marginalize Africa, overlook its issues and priorities, and neutralize its role and voice. From this perspective, our work should not be limited to immediate aspects concerning the internal management of our organization alone, but must extend to a broader and more comprehensive horizon to truly establish a forward-looking collective vision, a vision that precisely identifies the dangers and threats facing us all, adapts our joint work to the rapidly evolving changes around us, and restore the value of our unity project as an indispensable strategic choice to safeguard our common destiny in today's turbulent world and in the world we aspire for tomorrow, which better addresses our concerns, protects our interests, and responds to our aspirations.
The Minister of State affirmed Algeria's support for strengthening the organization and backing its commission and rotating presidency.
تدعم أي جهد من شأنها أن يسهم في تقوية منظمتنا.
Algeria supports any effort that contributes to strengthening our organization, helping it move beyond self-isolation, enhancing its presence regionally and internationally, and enabling it to address current challenges, whether continental or global, with realism and responsibility. Algeria also offers full support and backing to our Commission and to the rotating presidency of our organization.
سيد الرئيس.
On the sidelines of the Executive Council's work, the Minister of State will hold bilateral meetings with several of his counterparts from brotherly African countries. Meanwhile, Mr. Attaf had bilateral talks with his Tunisian counterpart, Mohamed Ali El Nafti, evoking topics high on the agenda of their preparatory meeting. Here in Algiers, a memorandum of understanding has been signed here in Algiers between the Ministry of Justice and its Somali counterpart in the field of strengthening legal and judicial cooperation and the exchange of expertise and experience. More details with Masoud Sharfi.
The memorandum was signed at the ministry's headquarters by the Minister of Justice, Keeper of the Seals, Lotfi Boujama'a, and the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs of the Federal Republic of Somalia, Hassan Moulin Mohammed Sheikh Ali. In a speech delivered on the occasion, Mr. Boujama'a underlined the importance of the relations binding the two countries, founded on solid basis and mutual respects principles, which he said pave the way for broader cooperation, as desired by the high authorities of both countries. He said the document enhances cooperation through the exchange of expertise, highlighting human resources development and capacity building, particularly in the training of judges and public prosecutors.
The Memorandum of Understanding devoted significant space to strengthening capacities in the field of the training and qualification of judges and members of the public prosecution, which will allow the two parties to exchange expertise and experiences regarding the educational and academic curricula of institutes and schools responsible for training judges. The establishment of a conventional framework for judicial cooperation in the three fields, civil, commercial, and criminal, as well as extradition, occupies a highly important place in future cooperation between the two countries.
He added that the memorandum enables the exchange of expertise in prison management, judicial infrastructure, and modern technologies to improve justice efficiency and access. For his part, the Somali Minister of Justice praised Algeria's judicial experience and expressed Somalia's interest in cooperation to strengthen its own justice system.
Somalia attaches great importance to benefiting from Algeria's pioneering experience in the field of justice and judiciary, given the expertise it possesses and its successful models in judicial administration, training and legislation. As the Federal Republic of Somalia moves forward in the process of rebuilding its judicial institutions and strengthening the efficiency of its justice system, it looks with great interest to cooperation with its brothers in Algeria and affirms its aspiration to benefit from their expertise in various fields.
After praising Algeria's sincere cooperation efforts, the Somali minister expressed the wish that this memorandum would mark the beginning of a sustainable partnership in the field of justice, serving the interests of the two countries and the two brotherly peoples.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. This is the English service. As you followed in our top stories, several countries denounced the most serious Zionist repression in the West Bank since 1967, while the Arab League calls for an emergency meeting. Meanwhile, the Arab Parliamentary Union, APU, has condemned in the strongest terms the illegal measures recently adopted by the Zionist occupation authorities, aimed at expanding and strengthening settlement activity in the West Bank in a flagrant violation of international law and relevant resolutions of international legality. Masoud Sharfi has more.
The APU has stated in a communique signed by the President of the National People's Assembly and President of the APU, Mr. Brahim Boughali, that these settlements policies constitute a clear challenge to the will of the international community and systematically undermine the prospects for a just and comprehensive settlement based on the two-state solution and an end to the occupation of Palestinian territories. The Union also warned against the continuation of the expansionist and aggressive policy of occupation, which is likely to exacerbate escalate tensions and instability in the region by forcibly imposing a new reality on the ground in defiance of the legitimate national rights for the Palestinian people. It called on the international community in all its components to assume its legal and moral responsibilities, to take effective measures to put an end to these violations, to hold the occupying authorities accountable for their crimes, and to ensure international protection for the Palestinian people. In conclusion, the Arab Parliamentary Union reaffirmed its constant support for the Palestinian people and their inalienable right to self-determination, as well as the establishment of their independent and sovereign state in accordance with the resolutions of international law.
Meanwhile, the permanent observer of Palestine to the United Nations, Riyad Mansour, delivered a joint statement on behalf of Arab states in order to express outrage and condemnation in regards of a recent Israeli occupation cabinet decision warning the move would amount to the annexation of the land of the Palestinian people, especially in the West Bank. Speaking to reporters in New York, Mansour said the Israeli occupation's decision represented an illegal step that must be immediately reversed.
We condemn that position, and we also mobilizing here at the United Nations all components of the UN, beginning with the Security Council, for the immediate reversal of this illegal position of the Israeli government. Having said that, and based on instructions from our leaders, we started the process yesterday of, number one, circulating to the Security Council, to the Secretary General, and to the President of the General Assembly in our capacity as the representative of the State of Palestine, a letter that deals with the details of our position and what we want, and expecting that the Security Council to shoulder its responsibility to defend international law, including human rights law and humanitarian law, and to act in such a way to force Israel to honor and respect Security Council resolutions and relevant resolutions, including 2334 and the last Security Council resolution 2803, and to reverse this illegal step.
Turkey's UN ambassador Ahmet Yildiz, speaking for the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, also condemned Israel's actions, saying the OIC group rejected measures aimed at imposing unlawful sovereignty and enforcing a new legal and administrative reality in the occupied West Bank.
We stress that expansionist Israeli policies and illegal measures pursued by the Israeli government in the occupied West Bank only serve to fuel violence and conflict in the region. They undermine the two-state solution, the ongoing peace efforts, and represent an assault on the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people to realize their independent and sovereign state on the 1967 lines, with occupied Jerusalem as its capital. We reject these illegal actions, which constitute blatant violation of international law, including UN Security Council resolutions, particularly Resolution 2334, as well as the 2024 advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice.
That was Turkey's UN ambassador Ahmet Yildiz. The Canadian Ministry of Foreign Affairs condemned the occupation authorities' decision to expand their control over the West Bank. In a statement, Global Affairs Canada said that these actions violate international law, undermine the prospects for peace, and weaken the possibility of a Palestinian state. It called on the occupation authorities to reverse this decision and immediately halt settlement expansion. For its part, Belgium condemned the measures. Belgian Foreign Minister Maxime Prevot affirmed that these steps constitute a clear violation of international law and undermine the prospects for peace. Meanwhile, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA, said that the occupying authorities' new measures in the West Bank undermine the future of Palestinians and represent a further blow to international law. In a post on X, the agency added that these new measures pave the way for an accelerated expansion of settlements in the West Bank, further jeopardizing the future of Palestinians. It also noted that these measures increase control, despair and violence and set dangerous precedents with global repercussions. Now to our African news. The head of UN peacekeeping operations, Jean-Pierre Lacroix, has warned that escalating violence, political deadlock, and humanitarian constraints are once again pushing civilians in South Sudan to the brink. During a briefing with Security Council member states on the situation in South Sudan, Jean-Pierre Lacroix said that instability in the country had increased significantly in recent weeks, fueled by the political impasse between the signatories to the 2018 revitalized peace agreement.
Political deadlock among the main signatories to the revitalized peace agreement continues to drive heightened tensions, manifesting in armed confrontations in many parts of the country. In recent weeks, we have witnessed a sharp escalation of violence, particularly in Jonglei, with clashes between government and opposition forces. Both sides claim to be acting in self-defense, while at the same time preparing for the possibility of large-scale hostilities. The reports of aerial bombardments, inflammatory rhetoric, mass displacement, and severe restrictions on humanitarian access observed in Jonglei are of great concern. Communities that remember all too well the violence of 2013 and 2016 are again on the move. Over 280,000 people displaced from fighting in Jonglei alone, as per government sources.
Delacroix has also added that South Sudan remains one of the most dangerous places in the world for humanitarian workers.
South Sudan remains one of the most dangerous places in the world for humanitarian workers. In 2025, 350 attacks on humanitarian staff and facilities were recorded, up from 255 the previous year. Despite government assurances, partners report persistent access constraints, particularly to opposition-held areas. These constraints are unfolding amid the country's first cholera outbreak, with over 98,000 reported cases since the outbreak began in September 2024. The situation is now deteriorating further with the resurgence of cholera in Jonglei State, where cases numbers are steadily increasing.
According to government sources, fighting has intensified dramatically in Jonglei State, where armed clashes have displaced more than 280,000 people. The United Nations has warned that time was running out for malnourished children in Sudan and urged the world to stop looking away. The details with Masoud Sharfi.
Famine is spreading in the western region of Darfur, warned UN-backed experts, with the war between the army and the rapid paramilitary support forces leaving millions hungry, displaced, and cut off from aid. Global food security experts said that famine thresholds linked to acute malnutrition had been exceeded in the contested areas of Ombaru and Kironi in North Darfur. United Nations Children's Fund UNICEF spokesperson Ricardo Pierce said the situation was getting worse by the day for children. In parts of the North Darfur, more than half of children are acutely malnourished, he said at a press conference in Geneva.
No children on the planet are facing what Sudan's children are facing right now. They are at the epicenter of the world's largest humanitarian catastrophe, and it's getting worse by the day. In parts of North Darfur, as we speak, more than half of all children are acutely malnourished. Not projected, not modeled, confirmed. New IPC data released last Friday from 3 localities in North Darfur, Umbaru, Kernoi, and Atina, shows catastrophic malnutrition rates. These children are not just hungry. Nearly half of all children in Atina had been sick in the previous 2 weeks. Fever, diarrhea, respiratory infections, low vaccination coverage, unsafe water, and a collapsing health system are turning treatable illnesses into death sentences for already malnourished children.
Mr. Pierce said access is shrinking, funding is closely lacking, and fighting is intensifying, insisting that the world must stop turning a blind eye to the children of Sudan. Since April 2023, the conflict between the Sudanese army and the rapid paramilitary support forces, tens of thousands dead, displaced 14 million people, and triggered one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. This is the English service. We're coming live to you from the capital, Algiers. Today marks the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, which is observed every year on the 11th of February. Today's program honors women who served humanity in the field of science, highlighting their struggle and challenges. So today, the 11th of February, is an important day to celebrate.
welcome to your weekly program Technoverse and the Science Planet on Radio Al